Google just launched 3 new Gemini models. Let me explain Gemini models. Let me explain using this card.
Hello and welcome to today's tech briefing. I'm your host, and today we are unpacking a major announcement from Google. On July 21, 2026, Google introduced 3 new Gemini models: Gemini 3.6 Flash, Gemini 3.5 Flash-Lite, and a specialized security model called 3.5 Flash Cyber. 3 releases, one very clear message. The future of AI is agents, and agents need models that are fast, efficient, and reliable. Over the next 10 minutes, I will walk you through everything that matters: the benchmarks, the pricing, the safety work, and what it all means for developers and for businesses. I will be using charts and one small yellow card. Both are extremely serious. Let's get started. First, some context, because it explains every decision behind these models. Google says developers and customers building production AI agents keep asking for 3 things: higher token efficiency, lower latency, and more reliable performance. That is exactly the niche the Flash family is designed to fill, the sweet spot between efficiency and quality that lets agentic workflows scale without burning through budgets. Think about what a modern agent actually does. It reads documents, calls tools, browses interfaces, writes code, and then checks its own work. Every extra token it generates, and every extra reasoning step it takes, multiplies both cost and delay. A model that finishes the same job with fewer tokens, fewer steps, and fewer tool calls compounds into serious savings. That is the story of today's releases, and it builds directly on Gemini 3.5 Flash. Let's begin with the headline model, Gemini 3.6 Flash. Google calls it the workhorse, with better coding, better knowledge work, and better multimodal performance. But the standout claim is efficiency. According to the Artificial Analysis Index, 3.6 Flash consumes 17% fewer output tokens than 3.5 Flash. And on some benchmarks, like Deep SWE by DataCurve, Google observed reductions of up to 65%. So the model produces fewer tokens, and as we will see in a moment, each of those tokens also costs less. On top of that, it takes fewer reasoning steps and fewer tool calls to complete multi-step workflows. In plain terms, it gets to the answer faster with less rambling. As a professional talker, I respect that, and it is exactly what you want when an agent is running thousands of tasks a day. Now let's look at the numbers, because they back the claims up. On Deep SWE, a benchmark for real software engineering, 3.6 Flash scores 49%, up from 37%, with higher precision, fewer unwanted code edits, and fewer execution loops. On MLE Bench, which tests machine learning research skills, it jumps to 63.9% from 49.7%. Computer use, where the model actually operates a screen like a human would, rises to 83% on OS World Verified, up from 78.4%. And on GDP-Val, a benchmark for real-world professional knowledge work, it scores 1421 against 1349 for its predecessor. Notably, computer use now ships as a built-in, client-side tool in the Gemini API and Gemini Enterprise. And customers like Hebbia and Harvey specifically praise its multimodal skills, parsing documents, analyzing charts and data, and drafting full reports. For the record, I did not make these numbers up. I only read them aloud slowly. So what does all this cost? Gemini 3.6 Flash is priced at $1.50 per million input tokens and $7.50 per million output tokens, which is lower than 3.5 Flash. Now combine that lower price with 17% fewer output tokens, and the effective cost per agentic task drops meaningfully. That is the real headline for anyone running agents in production: cheaper tokens and fewer of them. My finance colleague reviewed this pricing and said it was, quote, acceptable. From him, that is a standing ovation. Early customers seem convinced too. Figma, Harvey, Hebia, and JetBrains all report that 3.6 Flash is a genuine step forward in both cost and quality, balancing token efficiency, accuracy, and speed across complex workflows and knowledge-based tasks. Safety received real attention in this release as well. 3.6 Flash ships with enhanced frontier safety safeguards, specifically hardening the model in the domains of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear misuse, and against cyber offense. Google says these safeguards make the model substantially more resistant to jailbreaks. But importantly, the model has also been trained to minimize refusals for beneficial, legitimate uses. That balance matters in practice. You want a model that shuts down attackers without frustrating the everyday users who are just trying to get work done. Full details are published in the 3.6 Flash model card. It is riveting bedtime reading. Next up, Gemini 3.5 Flash-Lite. This one is the speed play. It is the fastest model in the 3.5 series, designed for low-latency tasks and high-throughput workloads, things like agentic search and large-scale document processing. As measured by artificial analysis, it runs at 350 output tokens per second. That is faster than I speak. Marginally. And the pricing is aggressive, just 30 cents per million input tokens and $2.50 per million output tokens. What makes it flexible is configurable thinking. Developers can run minimal or low thinking levels for cheap, high-volume tasks, or engage higher thinking levels when a multi-step sub-agent workload needs more care. Computer use is built in here as well. So you get one model that can be tuned from a lightning-fast responder all the way up to a careful, multi-step worker. And the benchmarks for Flash-Lite are honestly startling for a model in this class. On Terminal Bench 2.1, a coding and agentic test, it scores 54% versus 31% for the previous Flash-Lite generation. Long context recall on MRCR version 2, 72.2%, up from 60.1%. Real-world task execution on GDP-Val 1140, nearly double the 642 of its predecessor. And here is the kicker. On several agentic and coding evaluations, this light model even outperforms the bigger Gemini 3 Flash. 54.2% on SWE Bench Pro against 49.6%, and 74% on OS World Verified against 65.1%. Early customers, including Palo Alto Networks and Ramp, highlight exactly that combination: speed, intelligence, and cost efficiency for scaling agentic workflows.
The third release is the most unusual, and maybe the most important, Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber. Flash Cyber is the answer to that. It runs inside CodeMender, Google DeepMind's code security agent, where multiple Flash Cyber agents work together and merge their findings into a single combined report. But because this technology is dual use, Google is deliberately not releasing it to the public. The goal: give frontline defenders a head start in fixing critical vulnerabilities while mitigating broader misuse. There is also a clear look ahead in this announcement. And, in parallel, the team confirmed it has started pre-training Gemini 4, describing it as their most ambitious pre-training run yet. Neither am I. So, how do you actually get your hands on these models? Developers can access them through the Gemini API in Google iStudio and in Android Studio, and 3.6 Flash is also available in Google Anti-Gravity, Google's agentic development environment. And for everyone else, both models are rolling out in the Gemini app, while Flash-Lite is even being rolled out inside Google Search itself. Let's wrap up with the key takeaways. Two, 3.5 Flash-Lite brings near-frontier agentic performance at commodity prices at 350 tokens per second. And 4, with 3.5 Pro in partner testing and Gemini 4 already in pre-training, Google is shipping at full speed. If you found it useful, like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
That was the briefing. Like, subscribe models.